Hey folks, Valentin the Mad here, and today we'll be looking at the response mechanics in Dying Light the Beast. We'll be talking about the features, the issues and limitations, and some thoughts on a potential future title. Now, I am using two mods here, RGB's Infinite Weapon Durability and VAXIS Gore mod. The current version does have a different blood pool, but I'm using version 1.4. It makes the blood stay longer, and it will keep the bodies from vanishing while you're in the area. So, it is a review of the vanilla effects as they are, with the blood textures as they are. The math just sticks around. With that in mind, let's begin. As for the body damage, that consists entirely of dismemberment, variations, a whole lot of variations actually, and the dreaded overlay. So we'll just go up in brutality. So, some of the milder variations in the game are gonna be for the bare knuckle boxing, and here you can have a brief look of them being clean. A little bit of the before, there's gonna be plenty of after, yeah, like we have some nice, pretty, fresh characters that I do want to showcase all this beauty on, and really the strength of the variations approach is that they are handcrafted and they are absolutely beautiful. Right, so beginning with the mild stuff. As you can see, kind of like cheek torn open. There's gonna be like skin removed, skull exposed. Let's see if I can turn him over and showcase the exposed skull. Here we go. Ah, come on. As you can see, skull exposed, that kind of stuff. Same on this one. But here we have a variation that isn't... You can't really call it mild, with his jaw basically being gone. And that's kind of an interesting thing, because if you just punch him, you know, with a regular hit, you can't activate it, you can only just tear the cheek open and such, but when you're grabbed, the escape animation leads to this result. And I should note that those aren't the only mild variations you have in the game. I have seen a mild cut after slicing a character. It isn't a decal, unfortunately it is just a pre-made mild cut. As I mentioned, there are lots and lots of variations. And there are milder variations for blunt weapons too. Some take a whole chunk off, you'll see, and some just take the skin off. And before I forget, for the punching you will have a special response teams. As you will see, the response teams for slicing or bashing with a melee weapon are gonna be different. And those droplets are what you're gonna be seeing for punching. Now moving up in brutality, we have the bladed weapons. So those are gonna be activating, as I mentioned, just nastier variations, as you can see on this guy right here. Those are indeed quite nasty. So what we have is nastier variations and dismemberment. Precisely 3 points of amputation per limb. Let's do that real quick. Chopping him like salami. The head can come off, and we also have variations of characters cut in half. Let's see if I can activate it. Here we go. So that is the vertical one. And you know, it isn't perfectly vertical as we have in some games, but perhaps I would say it's even a more quote-unquote realistic way to go about it, because what are the chances of just you doing a perfect slice with just about anything? So, and most importantly, the looks are very nice for everything, really. The variation of him being of this side chunk being torn open, quite nice. The cut in half variation, also quite nice. There is also a horizontal one. Let's see if I can activate it on the way here. Nah, we got the vertical one as well. But yeah, I will say, the absolute prettiest insides I've ever seen in a game for a cut in half variation were in Vermintide 2. There was just a lot more color there. As you can see, it's mostly many shades of red. There was just more color in Vermintide, but nonetheless those are very nice insights. And just to hopefully give you the horizontal cut in half too. Do we have it? Come on. Not quite the horizontal cut in half, but kind of plays into the Soldier of Fortune good old nostalgia feelings. Don't really have all that many games to the whole guts coming out thing. And here is, by the way, our horizontal cut in half variation. And guys, the absolute top of brutality are the blunt melee variations. So we should have quite a few of those showcased right now. They will say with the hit reactions. Oh yeah. So death animations are affected in the game. You know, not quite as much. I think there could be more death animations actually. It's a little bit underused, but as you can see here, as you could see in the demonstration video, the ones that we do have are actually quite very nice, and that's actually why I'm saying that I kinda wish that there was more of a focus on the death animations, because we'll get to it, but there isn't any particularly advanced animation functionality. No active ragdolls, no notable degree of physics in the animations. Perhaps there's some, but it looks like just pre-made stumbling variations and such, response animations and such, but when you don't really have a great degree of physics in the animations, I think there is room to put in more focus on the pre-made death animations, as we saw here. But anyway, back to what I was gonna be talking about. The head variations. I'm trying to turn this character over. Well, that didn't work out, but anyway, the big strength of the variations approach, and it is particularly well seen here with the blunt mangled heads, is that they are handcrafted. As you can see, they are just absolutely beautiful. And here is a different type. Yeah, the YouTube censors won't be liking this one very much, but as you can see, like skull cracked open, brain leaking out. That is a big strength of the variations approach, because it can take a longest while before we can get to a dynamic system that can do anything remotely as close to the nastiness of this. Now we do have some hugely impressive dynamic systems, most notably Dead Island 2, but there are some things you can do with handcrafting that dynamic systems are not there yet, and that is the strength, once again, of the pre-made handcrafted variations. And big props to the folks over at Techland, and particularly the artists who are responsible for this aspect specifically. Now, while looks are a great strength of the variation system, it has quite a few weaknesses. They are quite telling in this game. So the first one, the variations are used interchangeably, so for example, variations like this are used for slicing too. In this case, not a big issue, but something like this is also used for a machete. I think it is used for actually everything you have in the game, including your fists in a certain finisher, so hammer, machete, shotgun, and I think the pistol too. And there are just a certain amount of variations you can have. So if you have like a good deagle at the point of impact, plus variations for a spicier hit, that is one thing, but when you have only variations, that does become an issue. You'll be getting the same responses over and over again, and if you have no variation at the very spot you're going for, you're just gonna be seeing the generic overlay, which does not deliver good feedback. Those limitations really come up in combat with human enemies. What you have during the fight is just the mild variations and the overlay, and it just doesn't cut it. You will have dismemberment and the juicy variations on the fatal hit, but you still have the whole fight itself, and what we have there won't do. So, what this leads me to is perhaps the biggest hope I have for a follow-up title, a theoretical Dying Light 3, and that is a proper response at the point of impact, and nowadays, frankly, I can say it can be a multi-layer response. You have the top layer, and as you slice, as you hit, you reveal a nice, nasty and pretty layer of muscles, organs, bones below, at the point of impact, at the very spot where you hit the character. And it doesn't have to be as detailed as Dead Island 2. That is of course the immediate one that comes to mind when you talk about multi-layer damage, but it doesn't have to be that detailed. You can have something more simple and still get a very impactful response. Once again on just the top layer, blood soakage around wherever the cuts or the holes happen, and a nice pretty layer below, and perhaps just a thought I kinda have here on the go is actually maybe having the variations happen on the bottom layer, so aside from just exposing it, having chunks of it get damaged and torn off and destroyed on the appropriate impacts, like a shotgun for example. I think that actually could potentially be doable. But what is actually very cool here is that we are at the point where suggesting a multi-layer damage system is not too much out there, so saying please give us Dead Island 2 level of detail is, but once again you can have a more simple system and still have it be very impactful. And even if the more simple system won't be as gnarly as some of the variations we have here, all things taken into account, I would take the more dynamic approach over beautiful variations any day. So we have ourselves a nice, bloody game today, and therefore the promo has to be of a wild, carnivorous beast. We did an exhibition of the paintings, mostly of the new watercolor ones, in Zebra Bar in Haifa, and this cute fella is the owner's dog. We got a very nice reference and the painting came out beautifully. We have prints and mugs, so if you wanna support the channel and have me ship something your way, the links are in the description and the pinned comment. As for the blood spilling, that's gonna consist almost entirely of two features. The first one is the initial response, as you can see. We have a slash, we have a stain, and the second one is gonna be blood pools. And both features are gonna be quite very consistent, really. I haven't seen any issues with the activation. And in the case of blood pools, we actually have some pretty fun touches. Let's see if I can perhaps showcase. Yeah, that should be good. So, you will have a small puddle below severed limbs as well, which is a very nice touch. As you can see, we have one below the severed arm and below the main part of the character. And when you cut them in half, there's gonna be a puddle below each of the halves. Let's see if I can showcase that easily, perhaps. Alright, wanted to give you a clear showcase of that, but they were getting kicked around way too easily. They still are. Basically, you will have a separate puddle below each of the halves. And once again, those things do very much matter. Now as for the looks, it kind of looks, I think it looks best when you have just this kind of single pattern for a slash. But I have seen slashes cause multiple stains and that doesn't look quite as good, but for the most part, yeah, I think it's basically okay, you know, it won't blow you away. But it will deliver, I think, decent initial feedback. And as for the blood pools, as you can see, we have the kind of standard circularish patterns, and you know, we have been kind of spoiled by the Last of Us games for the looks of the blood pool patterns. And the ones we have here, they just deliver decent basic feedback, but you know, it can be just so much better, even without having any particularly advanced or dynamic functionality. Now a few more things I want to note. If you drop a character from a height, or just leg cannon them, you'll be seeing a splat appear for that, and that is a very nice touch, and it does make the falls just feel more visceral, especially when you also have dismemberment and other damage activate. And I do want to mention the exploding guy too. As you can see, you will have a very nice big splat, but there is one pretty huge miss out. As you can see, no remains of the body, he just evaporates, he entirely, completely liquefies. And you know, some chunks, some gips that would look specifically appropriate for him, along with a 1 or 2 big mangled pieces, kind of in the vein of the explosive response in Left 4 Dead 2, would have made a big difference for this. And lastly, aftermath, I do need a bit of a crowd for that, so let's gather them all right around here and let the chopping begin. And then I just woke up and saw this big pile of bodies I have absolutely nothing to do with. So yeah, so basically, with the mod, as long as you're around, you're gonna be seeing... So, all the bodies will remain. The blood will begin vanishing after about 5 minutes, give or take, and I have seen some of the severed limbs go through the ground. Also, imagine just an attempt to kind of like unnoticingly have some mass vanish. But the radius for the mass to stay is not gonna be particularly big, so even if I run as far as there... Hello, and when I get back, many have become those small bags. So I think basically what you have with the mod of the mass sticking around as long as you're in the area, I think that should be the standard, and I would argue for a higher radius for that. But I think perhaps the best option for a game like this would be to have all of the mass tied to each individual zombie, so every spot of blood, every severed limb, and of course the main part of the carcass be tied to him, and once you reach the limit for the bodies, you would have everything caused by that character to disappear. And the amount of characters you can have could be configurable. So if you have a lower end machine, it would be 5, maybe 10. But if you have a more powerful PC, it could be 30, 50, 100, and maybe even beyond. But the key idea is the mass should be configurable, and in this game it isn't. As for the animations, I kinda spoiled a key point earlier, but there isn't a great deal of physics. You have just the regular, good old animations and ragdolls. So you have good hit reactions, characters can be knocked over. As I mentioned, the death animations are quite nice. You have finisher animations. And characters can survive some pretty bad mutilation. On the case of a limb loss, there will be a change of behavior too. And there are other interactions as well. You or a ragdoll lands on a character, they may fall. You send the character flying and that may cause a ripple effect. Pushing away will cause a more mild one. So, when it comes to animations, I think the work here really has been pretty exceptional. As I mentioned, with the mechanics they have here now, the only way I would really enhance it is just more variety for the death animations. In conclusion, if you remember the early videos here on the channel, animation-wise, for zombie games, what I was talking about is pretty much this. Nice hit reactions, mangled enemies coming at you, and legless zombies crawling your way. So yes, it could be spicier with active ragdolls, well, a lot spicier, especially with the environments we have here, but with the mechanics we have I do think it is quite good. The blood spilling is largely basic but solid, but you will feel the lack of additional staining for dismemberment, and configurability for the mask should have also been in. And by the damage wise, even though there was clearly a lot of effort put into it, it does feel lacking. I think in the case of death animations, more of the same would actually help, but for body damage, the solution of even more variations wouldn't do. So I can't quite recommend it for the gore, though really, it comes pretty bloody close. Hope you enjoyed the video, do let me know how you feel in the comment section, and subscribe, lots more is coming your way. Until next time.